religiously. It has an exception in it that so long as you brew with malted wheat and at a level of at least 50%, you can, or higher, you're allowed to use wheat instead of malted barley. What's unique about Hefeweizen is that yeast is such a predominant factor. It's not that it just adds to the cloudiness of the beer. About half the cloudiness is from yeast, and the rest of the turbidity is coming from protein, because malted wheat has a higher level of protein than malted barley. The yeast strain that we use is very particular, and there's thousands of different yeast strains. Yeast is delineated really into two different types as a whole for brewing beer. You have top fermenting yeast, which are used for producing ales and especially beers like the Hefeweizen and some German beers like Kolsch and Alt. And then you have bottom fermenting beers, which are used to produce lagers. Those bottom fermenting yeast genetically different from top fermenting yeast that after it's fermented all the sugar and converted to alcohol and carbon dioxide, it settles at the bottom of the tank. As opposed to top fermenting yeast, it settles to the top, rises to the top. Top fermenting yeast strains are used for producing ales and Hefeweizen. They're fermented at a warmer temperature. So it's a shorter cycle. It's 3 days of primary fermentation where the majority of the alcohol and carbon dioxide are produced. And then it's a very short aging process, usually 10 days to 2 weeks. Whereas the lagers are slow, cold fermentation, around 48 degrees Fahrenheit. And then they're chilled down to freezing and aged for 5-6 weeks. This Hefeweizen has a special yeast strain that's different from any kind of ale yeast. And it creates these flavor profiles. And as you just smell the beer, pick up the aroma, first thing you're going to pick up is, oh sorry, I jumped the gun, that would be poor guy. As you take a whiff, you'll pick up the clove and banana and bubble gum. It's going to come up and as you start sipping it, and then it finishes with a little citrus. And that's all naturally produced by the yeast. So the yeast is metabolizing all these carbohydrates and amino acids from the protein that are broken down. And it spews out a myriad of different flavor profiles. It just shows you how impactful the yeast strain is on the quality of the beer and the flavor profile of the beer. So that's really what it's all about, is the yeast strain. It doesn't really matter so much as the type of malt we're using. The malted wheat gives it a lighter, crisper flavor profile. But really it's all about the yeast that's used in producing these flavors. And it's not the yeast that's left in the beer, more so than the yeast and fermentation process that yeast goes through. What's also interesting about the Hefeweizen is a traditional Bavarian Hefeweizen, in particular, it's very effervescent. It's light in body. It's about 5%, 5.4% alcohol. It has 20% higher level of carbonation in it. Very unusual. It's very spritzy, and that carbonation creates more of an acidic flavor profile. Makes it very refreshing for warm summer months in particular. It's a beer that's consumed a ton in Bavaria, in particular on Sundays, between before and after church, sometimes during. The history behind it. And it's kind of funny, you go into these Gaststätten in small towns and you'll see people that are just drinking this all morning on Sundays. And typically you're not allowed to drink it past noon, although it's consumed all the time. But it used to be traditional to have Weisswurst and Weissbier, which is white sausages and the white beer, and then they call this white beer. With freshly baked pretzels every Sunday. It was kind of a nice tradition. It really ruins you for the rest of the day, but it's a fun way to go. So that's the German brunch, so to speak. The Sunday brunch is sausage, pretzels, and beer, and lives up to all that reputation you hear about lifestyle over there. So it's a very unique style. We do a very true style Bavarian Hefeweizen. You'll find that there's a lot of domestic brewers, craft brewers, and such that have done an American twist on it using a different yeast strain that doesn't produce these signature citrus, banana, bubble, and plum flavor profiles, but goes with more of a neutral flavor profile than you get with American ale yeast. But this yeast strain we bring in is called W68. The W refers to Weinstefan. Where I went to school, the university has a yeast bank. And the way we get our yeast is we get a little test tube sent over every 4 to 6 weeks, and we grow it from this test tube in bioreactors in our brewery until we have large enough quantities to use for producing the beer. And we only use yeast once. We're the only brewery I'm aware of in the world still that does that. It's kind of a claim to fame. It's what I did my thesis work on, with yeast physiology, and we've translated that in the practical world. So this is a nice compliment to the banana bread pudding. I think the Chef Mark, definitely picked up on the nuances here. And it's kind of fun, unique pairing, and hope you enjoy it. It's a great dessert beer. It's the perfect one for dessert. So cheers. Close.
Prost.
Thank you.